Before we begin this beautiful love story, tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more heart-touching love stories every day. The sharp smell of bleach clung to Luna Grace's hands no matter how many times she washed them. Every morning she knelt by the diner's cracked linoleum tiles, scrubbing grease stains left behind by strangers who never once looked her in the eye. She wasn't a person to them, just a pair of silent hands and tired eyes. No one in that city knew who she was, or what she had run from. They didn't know that just 2 months ago, she had escaped a home built not with love, but with cold commands. That her stepfather ruled their old southern house like a dictator, where a girl's place was in silence, and any spark of independence was smothered like a flame. They didn't know she'd walked 5 miles barefoot that night, her bruised arms wrapped around her suitcase, whispering to herself that freedom was worth any pain. No one asked, no one cared. In that big, cruel city, Luna was invisible. She slept above the diner in a room no bigger than a closet. The ceiling leaked when it rained. The radiator hissed like a snake. Her mattress was thin, her dreams even thinner. But she never complained, because she was free. No one hit her when she made mistakes now. No one insulted her for speaking gently to strangers. No one told her she was too soft, too white for helping those kids, or too dumb to understand a man's world. And yet, every night, she curled into the corner of her bed, pulling a threadbare blanket to her chin, wondering if this freedom was just another prison with no bars. But there was one thing that kept her breathing, even on the hardest nights. Hope. Hope that someday someone would see her, that her past wouldn't define her future. That love, real, deep, lasting love, wasn't just for other girls. She had never had a boyfriend, never kissed anyone, never even held hands under the stars. Not because she didn't want to, but because no one had ever treated her as more than a problem to solve or a burden to carry. Her heart was untouched, her innocence unspoiled. She kept her secrets locked behind her quiet smile. But life in the diner grew harder. The manager cut her hours. The tips shrank. The city was getting colder. She had only $2 in her savings and a coat with one working button. Then she began hearing whispers. It started with two businessmen in suits at table 4. "She'll never make it," one said, nodding toward Luna. "Not unless she goes up that hill and sells her soul to him." The other smirked. "You mean Angel Nolan? That cursed freak?" Luna froze, still holding their coffee pot. Another day, a cook murmured to the dishwasher, "He's got money stacked to the ceiling." But no wife, no friends, just rumors and security cameras. Even the old waitress, Maggie, whispered to Luna one night, "Stay far away from that house, sweet girl. They say his heart died with his reputation." The hill they spoke of stood far beyond the city's edge, tall, dark, covered in mist. At the top was a mansion so hidden, some believed it was empty. Others said he was hiding something in there. Angel Nolan, a name like a storm, powerful, feared, alone. Some said he once tried to change the world, and the world crushed him for it. Others claimed he was dangerous, a man with ghosts in his past and blood on his hands. But Luna, she didn't see a monster. She saw a door, maybe her last one, because every path she'd taken so far had led to pain. Maybe this strange one, the one everyone else was too afraid to try, would lead to something different. It wasn't that she wasn't scared. She was, but she was more afraid of staying invisible, of scrubbing floors until her soul faded into the mop water. So one night, when the cold cut through the diner like a blade, and the world felt colder than ever, Luna Grace took a deep breath, tied her worn shoes tight, grabbed her scarf, and stepped out into the rain. She didn't look back, didn't pause, didn't second-guess herself, because she wasn't chasing a man. She was chasing something she'd never had, a chance to matter, a chance to be seen, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to change someone else's life too. Even if that someone was a man with a cursed name and locked gates. Even if it meant walking straight into mystery. Because when you've survived hell, a haunted mansion doesn't scare you. Only staying invisible does. The sky cracked open like a broken mirror that night. Rain fell in cold sheets, washing away the last bits of warmth that the city ever offered. Every step Luna Grace took up that endless hill felt like a war against the wind, her thin shoes squelching in the mud, her coat clinging to her skin like a second weight. She had no umbrella, no car, no companion, just a worn scarf, blistered feet, and a fragile hope held tight in her trembling hands. The road twisted like a serpent, lined with trees that whispered secrets she couldn't hear. Each branch groaned in the wind like a warning. Turn back, don't go further. He won't want you, he won't help you. But Luna kept walking, not because she believed she'd be welcomed, but because she had nowhere else to go. Her legs burned, her lips were blue, her stomach was empty, but her soul, still full of fire. And then it appeared. At the top of the hill, past the fog and forest, stood a towering iron gate, black, sharp, unforgiving. It stretched across the road like a guardian of secrets, with swirling designs that looked like twisted vines, holding back a mansion too large to comprehend and too hidden to see clearly. Two stone statues flanked the gate, silent angels with broken wings. A single red light blinked above, the only sign of life. Luna stopped. She couldn't feel her toes. Her scarf was soaked. Her fingers shook as she reached out and touched the gate. Cold. So cold it bit her skin. She looked up at the blinking light, knew a camera watched her, knew someone, or something, might be on the other side. With a quivering voice, she spoke. "Please, I just want a job." The rain drowned out most of her words, but she didn't stop. "I can cook, clean, anything. I won't ask questions. I won't steal. I won't speak unless spoken to." She stepped closer, heart pounding. "Please, I'm not here to take. I'm just here to survive." Silence, only the sound of rain striking iron, of trees groaning, of thunder growling above. Her body wanted to collapse. Her knees begged to give in. But she stood still, not because she was strong, but because she had no other choice. 10 seconds passed. Then 20. Nothing. She turned her face away, blinking back tears. Maybe they were right. Maybe this place was cursed. Maybe he was a monster. Maybe... Click. A loud groan echoed from the gate. Luna whipped her head around. The iron bar, they were moving. Slowly. Reluctantly. Like they hadn't opened in years. The sound was harsh, like metal waking from a long, angry sleep. Her breath caught. They were letting her in. No voice spoke. No figure appeared. But the path forward had been given. She stepped across the threshold, heart in her throat, hands clasped tightly in front of her. The air changed the moment she entered. The mist thickened. The trees quieted. It felt like another world. A colder one. A hidden one. She followed the stone path leading up the hill, where the mansion loomed in the fog like a sleeping beast. Black shutters, stone walls, windows tall and dark like watchful eyes. And yet, something in it felt lonely. Not evil, not threatening, just empty, waiting. She reached the massive wooden doors. They opened before she knocked. A gust of warmth poured out from inside, and in the middle of it stood a man she had only heard about in whispers. Angel Nolan. He was taller than she expected. Not old, not young, timeless. His eyes were cold steel, his jaw sharp. He wore a black turtleneck and slacks, like a shadow made human. He didn't smile, didn't frown. He just watched her. Water dripped from her clothes, forming a puddle on the polished floor. Her lips parted to speak, but no sound came. His voice was the first to break the silence. "You walked here, in the storm." She nodded. "Yes, sir." "You're either very brave," he said, voice low and smooth, "or very foolish." "Maybe both," she whispered. He tilted his head slightly. His eyes lingered on her soaked hands, her shaking shoulders, her honest fear. "Name?" "Luna Grace." He paused. "Come inside, Miss Grace. You'll dry off, and then we'll talk." She blinked. The words sounded surreal. She stepped forward. Into warmth, into mystery, into danger maybe. But she knew this for sure. Her life would never be the same again. Because the moment the forbidden gate opened, Her fate had already been written, and she had just stepped into the first page of a story no one would ever forget. Luna Grace stepped inside the grand mansion, and the door closed behind her with a heavy echoing thud, like the sealing of fate. Warmth radiated from the fireplace, casting flickering gold against stone walls that whispered of wealth, secrets, and time that had stopped moving. Dust danced in the air like tiny spirits, but none of it captured her attention more than him, Angel Nolan. He stood still as stone in the hallway, tall and composed in a black turtleneck, tailored slacks, and leather shoes that didn't dare make a sound on the polished marble. His eyes, silver gray, piercing, locked on hers like they were searching for something she didn't know she had. Not anger, not kindness, just depth, pain, distance. He didn't speak right away, and neither did she. Her breath came out in soft puffs, misty from the cold. Water still dripped from her sleeves, pooling at her feet. Then his voice broke the silence, low, steady, like wind sliding across broken glass. "You're not afraid of me?" Luna hesitated only a moment, then shook her head gently. "No." His brow lifted slightly. "Most people are." "I've met worse," she said softly, truth shimmering in her voice like candlelight. "Sometimes kind people wear masks, just to survive." His head tilted just a fraction. It was the first time she saw something shift in his expression. A flicker, like a candle in a room full of shadows. Not quite surprise, not quite pain, but something old and long buried. Recognition, maybe. He took a step forward, his presence large but not suffocating. "You'll work in the East Wing. You don't ask questions. You don't wander. Do you agree?" Luna met his eyes, her own unblinking. "Yes, sir." He stared at her a moment longer, as if weighing the truth of her promise, then gave a short nod and gestured silently toward the stairs. A maid appeared, silent, older, eyes downcast, and guided Luna toward her quarters. The room she was given was small but clean. A soft bed, a private bathroom, curtains that reached the floor, a simple desk with a silver bell. Luna didn't complain. She whispered, "Thank you," and so it began. Her days were quiet, filled with dusting high bookshelves, scrubbing marble floors, polishing mirrors that hadn't seen reflections in years. The East Wing was vast and still, filled with locked doors, unopened cabinets, and corridors that turned like mazes. Angel Nolan never entered her wing, but she heard him sometimes. Footsteps overhead at midnight, the soft clink of a glass, the sound of piano keys being touched but never played. And every night, just after sunset, she would pass the wide staircase, and there he was, always at the same window, curtains drawn back, arms crossed, watching. But what he stared at wasn't the sky, or the trees, or the hills. It was a house, small down the hill near the edge of the forest. An abandoned house, dark, forgotten, rotting slowly into the earth. Every night, without fail, he stood there, watching. Why? Luna never asked. She remembered his warning, no questions, no wandering. But her curiosity had a heartbeat, and it began pulsing louder with every strange thing she discovered. A room in the West Wing covered completely in white sheets, furniture, chandeliers, even picture frames. A music room with a broken cello, strings cut clean. A child's bedroom, locked tight with a single nameplate on the door. Hope. And once, while dusting the hallway near his study, she caught sight of a photograph lying face down on the table. She didn't touch it, but she saw the edge of a frame, a lock of golden hair trapped behind glass. Something haunted this house, and it wasn't just the man. It was memory. It was grief. Angel Nolan moved like a man carrying invisible chains, heavy ones. Every time he passed her, Luna could feel it, the ache beneath his silence, the thunder behind his calm. He spoke little, but when he did, his words were deliberate. "Don't go near the West Wing," he said one morning. She only nodded, but her eyes, full of quiet questions, followed him when he wasn't looking. Who was he really? What had broken him? And why did he live alone in a castle made of silence, regret, and shuttered windows? She didn't want to break his rules, but her heart was already stepping past them, because in Angel Nolan's loneliness, she saw her own, and something told her. Whatever he was hiding from wasn't in the forest. It was in that abandoned house down the hill. And Luna? She was going to find out why. The air in the mansion always carried a hush, like the walls were guarding secrets too heavy for words. But that day, the day Luna dusted the library, the silence felt different, heavier, thicker, as if the house itself was holding its breath. The library was the only room in the East Wing that felt lived in. Books lined every wall, old leather-bound volumes with gold lettering. Some were classics, others rare. All were untouched by time, but layered in sorrow. Sunlight filtered through stained glass windows, casting shards of color across the wooden floor. Luna dusted carefully, her hands gentle, her movements quiet. She respected the books, and the man who clearly loved them, even if he never said so. But as she knelt to sweep beneath a low bookshelf, her cloth caught on something. A creak. She paused, then pressed down slightly, and felt the board move. Her heart skipped. She looked around. Alone. Again she pressed. The wood gave way, just a little. Curious, Luna reached for the edge and pulled. With a soft groan, the floorboard lifted. Beneath it, a hidden box, small, wooden, carved by hand, covered in dust as if it hadn't been touched in years. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside, photos, stacks of them, unlabeled but full of life, and in every photo, Angel Nolan. But not like now. He was smiling, laughing, alive in a way Luna had never seen. His arms wrapped around a little black girl with braids and bright eyes. A beautiful black woman kissed his cheek in one, while an older couple stood behind them, beaming. They were happy, not wealthy, not guarded, just free. Luna's breath caught. She flipped through photo after photo. Picnics, a school building, Angel helping paint a mural that read, "Every child belongs." Children laughing, teachers holding hands. It was a whole different world. Then, the door creaked open. Luna jumped. Angel stood there, still, silent. His eyes locked on the open box in her hands. For a long, tense moment, neither of them spoke. Then his voice, low and rough like gravel, broke the stillness. "You weren't supposed to see that." Luna's hands moved to close the lid. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Leave it." She froze. Angel stepped forward, his eyes dark but not angry. Just tired. So very tired. He took a breath. "They were my best friends," he said quietly, his voice full of something between love and loss. "Nia and Calvin." Their daughter was Amara. Luna said nothing. She knew better than to interrupt this kind of truth. They dreamed of opening a school for mixed-race kids who weren't accepted in the public ones. I had the money. They had the heart. He paused, staring down at a photo of himself, grinning with paint on his shirt, holding a brush beside little Amara. "I funded it. We built it from scratch. It was the best thing I'd ever been part of." Luna saw his hands clench at his sides. "But when my family found out, my father especially, everything changed." His jaw tightened. "They called me a traitor, said I was humiliating the family name by associating with them." Luna's stomach twisted. Angel's voice broke slightly. "One night, they set fire to the school. Nia and Calvin barely got the kids out in time." He blinked hard, jaw trembling once. "Then they blamed it on me. Said I embezzled funds, that I built the school as a tax scam. I had no proof. No one stood by me." He looked away, voice hollow. "Even the community turned on me. Said I'd brought danger to their children. I lost my businesses, my name, my friends." His eyes rose to hers. "They left town, disappeared, took Amara somewhere safe. I haven't seen them in years." Luna felt her throat tighten. "You were punished," she whispered, "for doing the right thing." He didn't answer at first, but his silence said everything. Then slowly, his gaze softened. For the first time since she arrived, he looked at her. really looked. And you, he murmured, you're the first person who didn't run after hearing the truth. Luna stepped closer. Her eyes shone with tears, but her voice was steady. I didn't run because I know what it feels like. To be silenced. To be made to feel small for doing nothing wrong. To watch cruelty wear masks. His expression didn't change, but his breathing shifted, like he'd been underwater for years and had just surfaced. They stood there, in a room filled with dust and ghosts, but in that moment, something new bloomed. A connection, not romance, not yet, but recognition. A man haunted by the past, a girl running from hers, and both of them, for the first time, not alone anymore. The rain hadn't stopped since the day Luna arrived. That night the wind howled outside the mansion, slamming branches against the windows like fists trying to get in. The power flickered, casting long shadows across the dimly lit halls. Luna was finishing dishes in the kitchen when she heard the intercom buzz. It was Angel's voice. Calm, low, commanding. Come to my study. Her heart jumped. She dried her hands and walked quietly through the long corridor. Every step echoed louder than the last. Her nerves danced inside her chest, but her feet didn't stop. Something was different tonight. Something was about to change. The double doors of the study stood open. Firelight flickered inside. She stepped in and paused. Angel Nolan sat behind a grand mahogany desk, wearing a charcoal sweater, no jacket. His eyes were fixed on the fire, his jaw tense. On the table between them sat a single envelope. He didn't smile, didn't blink, just spoke. I want to offer you something. Luna's breath caught. A job? He slowly shook his head. A choice. She stepped forward hesitantly. His hand pushed the envelope toward her. She picked it up, opened it, and her fingers trembled. Inside was a check. $1 million. Her knees went weak. She stared at it like it might disappear. Angel stood and walked to the fireplace, turning his back to her. His voice was calm but edged with vulnerability. You can take that. Leave tomorrow. I'll give you a new identity. Set you up wherever you want. Far from this house. Far from this pain. Luna said nothing. She couldn't. He turned to face her again. Or, his voice lowered, you can stay. Not as a maid, not as an employee. She looked up, wide-eyed. He stepped closer, his eyes locked with hers. As my partner. Silence filled the room, heavy and sacred. I want to rebuild what was destroyed, he said. Not just the school, a vision, a safe haven, a home where people aren't judged by skin or silence. She clutched the check to her chest. I don't understand. Why me? Because, he said gently, you didn't run when others would have. You didn't flinch when you learned the truth. You're the first person who looked at me and saw me. Not the headlines, not the myths. Luna's eyes brimmed with tears. She looked down at the check again, then whispered, almost too softly to hear, I'm still a virgin. The words hung in the air like glass. I don't know how to love someone, she added. I've never even been kissed. For a heartbeat, the fire cracked. Angel's jaw softened. He moved to kneel beside her, not as a man above her, but beside her. I'm not asking for your body, he said. I don't want that unless you want it. Ever. Her eyes locked onto his. I want your mind, he said. Your honesty, your courage, that fire in you that wouldn't let you stay silent. That's what I need. He reached out slowly, carefully, until his hand rested palm up between them. She stared at it for a moment, then without hesitation, placed her hand in his. Warmth met warmth. I don't want to run, she whispered. Not anymore. Not from myself. Not from the truth. He closed his hand around hers. Then stay, he said, and let's build something beautiful from the ashes they tried to bury us in. Luna took a deep breath and smiled. I choose to stay, she said, her voice trembling but certain. Not for the money, not for safety, but because, for the first time in my life, someone looked at me and saw worth. He didn't smile, but his eyes, those cold, unreadable eyes, glistened, not from sadness, but from something neither of them had dared believe in for years. hope. And so, in a mansion haunted by pain, two broken souls chose to begin again. Not with lies, not with lust, but with trust. Winter melted slowly into spring. The trees on the hill that once stood bare now bloomed with fragile white blossoms, like whispers of new beginnings. And at the bottom of that hill, where dust and silence once reigned, something extraordinary happened. The abandoned house, the one Angel used to watch from his window every night, was no longer lifeless. It had become alive. Hammers echoed, paint splashed onto old walls. Broken steps were replaced by ramps. Inside, where dust used to sit thick like sorrow, light now poured through clean glass windows. Angel and Luna called it the Safe Space Center, a place not for charity, but for dignity. It wasn't just for kids who had been kicked out, bullied, or judged by the color of their skin or the scars of their past. It was for everyone who had ever been told, "You don't belong here." Because now they did. They belonged here. Angel used his fortune not for luxury, but for legacy. He installed computers, built classrooms, stocked the walls with books that told the true story of history, not the whitewashed version his family once believed. He brought in therapists, tutors, guest speakers, not celebrities but survivors, former addicts, foster kids, runaways, mixed-race scholars, artists from the streets. He gave them the microphone. And Luna? Luna found her voice. The girl who once mopped diner floors in silence now stood in front of crowds. She didn't read from paper. She didn't wear fancy clothes. She wore truth. "I grew up in a home where silence was survival," she told the audience at their first town gathering. "I was taught to look down, to obey, and to hate what I didn't understand. But running away from that life led me here, to a man the world feared. But I found kindness behind the mask." The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. She continued, tears in her eyes. "We want this center to be a light for any child who's been told they're too poor, too dark, too unwanted. Come here, you'll find love, not judgment." She stepped back. Angel stood beside her and placed a hand gently on her back, not to claim her, but to stand with her. The media came, some out of curiosity, some to smear, but what they found was impossible to mock. Smiling children, mixed families eating together, former gang members painting murals on the walls beside police officers who listened, not barked orders. One day a reporter asked Angel a question. "Mr. Nolan, after all the lies your own family spread, the betrayal, the loss of your business, your name, what made you trust her? A girl who came out of nowhere?" Angel didn't hesitate. He looked at Luna, standing across the room in jeans smudged with paint, her hair in a ponytail, helping a little boy build a Lego castle. Then he looked at the reporter and said, "She had nothing, no money, not even a coat in the rain. But she carried a heart big enough to shelter me." The reporter blinked, said nothing, but the camera stayed on as Angel walked over, lifted Luna's hand, and kissed it gently. It wasn't a romantic show, it was reverence, and everyone watching from home knew it. This wasn't a fairy tale, it was a revolution led by two people society once tried to break. Now busloads of children came every month. They painted their dreams on the walls, wrote poetry in the garden, learned math from volunteers who looked like them, loved like them, fought like them. And Angel and Luna, they never called themselves heroes. They said, "We're just two broken people who chose love instead of fear." The hate didn't vanish. Some still protested. But when people screamed at their gates, Angel didn't hide. Luna didn't flinch. They opened the gates wider, let them see, let them feel the warmth of a home built not on bricks alone, but on truth, courage, and second chances. And one day, a little girl who had been abandoned for being biracial ran up to Luna. She said, "Miss Luna, I want to be like you when I grow up." Luna knelt down, hugged her tight, and whispered, "No, sweetheart, be better. Build even bigger houses. Open even braver doors." That night in the mansion above the hill, Luna and Angel sat by the fire, not in silence, but in peace, their hands clasped, their past forgiven, their future shared, not because of money, but because two souls had chosen faith over fear. equality over ego, and hope over hate. True wealth isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in how many doors you open for others, especially the ones the world tries hardest to keep shut.